In this video, we're going to find the vertex, which is the min or the max of our parabola. So we already looked at that when we had our equation in vertex form. These are going to be in standard form. So again, when I'm talking about finding the vertex here, I'm speaking specifically about a quadratic function that is in standard form. And I want to specify that because if it's in vertex form, which we just talked about in the last video, you don't do any work, you just look at the equation. So this is a standard form equation, and there's an example of that. Notice nothing is factored. I have my squared term first, my linear term second, my constant term third, greatest to least degree, etc. When I have it in this form, there's two ways to find the vertex. I'm going to show you my favorite way first, which is just use the vertex formula, which is super easy. And the vertex formula says to find the x value, you need to know the a, b, and c first. So remember, in a quadratic, the a term is in front of the x squared, the b term is in front of the x, and the c term is the constant. And I'm going to take the opposite of my b term, so 48 becomes negative 48 over 2a, so negative b over 2a. That gives me negative 48 over negative 6, which is positive 8. So that means my vertex is 8, comma, something. To find the something, I'm just going to take f of that value, which tells me that I'm really just finding f of 8. So I want to take negative 3 times 8 squared plus 48 times 8 minus 165. And again, I don't need to see more work than this because from this point you're just going to plug everything into your calculator and come out with your answer, which is 27, which means the vertex of my function is 8, 27. So I have one here for you to try, but I want you to notice that I've asked you to do two things. I want you to find the vertex, and I want you to use the vertex formula. Then I ask you to verify this by writing the equation in vertex form. I haven't shown you how to do that yet, so all I want you to do is press pause, do question 1 or part 1 of this. Then when you press play, I'll go through both parts of this equation with you. So again, to begin, I'm going to use the vertex formula. And that means to find x, I'm going to take the opposite of b. So b is negative 4. The opposite of that is 4. Over 2a. A is 1, so 2 times 1. 4 divided by 2 is 2. And y just says, hey, plug 2 back into your function. 2 squared minus 4 times 2 minus 7 is 4 minus 8 minus 7, which is negative 11. So my answer, very simply, is 2, negative 11. And again, we haven't talked about why it's great to find the vertex. We will do that when we look at some applications. But now I want to talk about how I could do this in another way. We talked about vertex form, where we had y equals a, and then x minus h quantity squared plus k. And this was really nice because we could find the vertex by looking at it. So there is a way to write an equation in vertex form if you prefer that to the vertex formula. So my original formula looks like this: y equals x squared minus 4x minus 7. And this is completing the square, which we haven't really talked about yet. But hopefully I'll give you a crash course very quickly here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to separate the x squared minus 4x. I'm going to put a plus blank here. Then I'm going to put a minus 7, and then I'm going to put a minus blank here. So what I'm going to do is whatever happens in one blank happens in both. And notice that one is plus and one is minus, and that is so they cancel each other out. So I'm not changing the equation. I'm just changing the look of it. To find what goes in the blank, I'm going to take b over 2 and square it. So b in this case is negative 4. Negative 4 over 2 is negative 2. Negative 2 squared is 4. So I'm going to put 4 here, and I'm going to put 4 here. So what have I done? What I've done is I've taken this part and created a perfect square trinomial, which we'll do all of the time when we get to, you know, completing the square and all of that with quadratics. Essentially what I've done is I've created x minus 2 coming from right there, quantity squared. And what that means is if I took x minus 2 times x minus 2, I would get x squared minus 4x plus 4 when I FOILed it back out, which is exactly what I have here. So it's called factoring. We have minus 7 and minus 4, which is minus 11. And this is my equation in a vertex form. And we can tell from this that positive 2, negative 11 would be my vertex. So when would I use this? Well, maybe if I had to graph it, I might go ahead and turn it into vertex formula because it's maybe a little bit easier.